Jim, would you like to introduce our next guest for us?
I do, because he's a very good friend of mine, personally and professionally, and none other than my good friend Tony Eads, the chairman of Sydney Hills Chamber of Commerce. Hi, Tony.
Hi, Jim.
How are you?
Good, thank you. Good, and how are you?
Really good. Thanks for sparing some time. I know how busy you are and you've got a lot on your plate, so thanks for sparing some time. This week's Hillshire Times, very big article on the summit for Western Sydney. Can you tell our listeners what the summit's all about and what you're trying to achieve as a really vibrant and exciting organisation?
Certainly, Jim. The Sydney Hills Business Summit is something that we run every year, but being a federal election year this year, we've expanded it to Greater Western Sydney. So it's a small business summit for Greater Western Sydney. Obviously, because that's a larger audience, it's not just obviously our local Hills area, but it's expanding across right the way across Greater Western Sydney. We've secured a venue, which is the Convention Centre at Hillsong, which holds 2,000 people. So we've put the word out, firstly, to our community to come along, because it's the idea is to spend the day talking about what's happening in our area, obstacles that we need to overcome to make business even greater than it is already in Greater Western Sydney, and also look at support for businesses, etc. We've contacted the leaders of politics. Letters of invite have gone out to Kevin Rudd, to the opposition leader Tony Abbott, all our ministers, plus also key business leaders and our fellow chambers around whole Greater Western Sydney.
Well, it's certainly causing a big buzz around town, if I can say that, Tony, because everyone I talk to is talking about the summit and what it's trying to achieve. So congratulations to you and your executive and your board. Well done.
Thanks, Jim, and it's good to hear the word's getting out there, because that's exactly what we need. 3 weeks away, or just under 3 weeks. So the more the word spreads, I think the better it will be as an event.
Well, when you look at Western Sydney, Tony, it's got a GDP of $85 billion, population by 2050 will be around 2 million, give or take. The massive spend on the NBN, the massive spend on education with more schools, the massive spend on retirement villages. It's a powerhouse, Western Sydney.
Is it? Sorry, I didn't catch that, Jim.
I was just saying that Western Sydney is a powerhouse. It's the third largest economy in the Asian belt, and including our economy is as big as Singapore.
That's right. It's an absolute powerhouse, and I mean, I did an interview. I think I sent a copy across to you. It's on our Facebook page with Sky Business on Friday.
That's right.
And one of the questions from them was, well, if you guys are doing so well, why do you need sort of help from us? And it's not about that we want to sit down and whinge about things. It's about how we can do things even better, because we've got some fantastic opportunities. There's some wonderful businesses that are kicking some great goals out here. There's also other businesses that need support and need help. And we really just need to work together to find out how we can make this success story even greater for not just Greater Western Sydney, but in fact the whole of Australia.
And that's why, again, if I can reiterate the fact, I applaud you as the boss and your executive and board for having the initiative to take it to a wider audience and to engage the wider Western Sydney population, both the business and the people who work, play and live in its area. Because if we don't bring things and challenges to people's minds and thoughts and opportunities, well, they're just simply not going to be taken, and the time is really right to get it right.
That's right, exactly, Jim.
Tony, just to ask you a question, let's go back to the Chamber, and again, congratulations on the continued rise of the amount of businesses joining the Chamber. It's been historic. You've come off a base, and I think 50-odd businesses have joined this year. So, am I right, approximately?
That's right. Well, just over, I think. We've actually, from October, November last year, we made a few changes. I mean, the Chamber last year was 20 years. We celebrated our 20-year anniversary. And
Yes.
obviously for any business, thank you, for any businesses that have been around for 20 years, I mean, you need to, revisit where you are and where you're going to be in the next 20 years. And, times are changing for all businesses and for all of us in the current economy and technology and a whole bunch of other things. So we made some changes just to refresh what we were doing and strategise about where the Chamber needs to move. And since October last year, I think it's more like 60 or 70 new members that we've attracted, which is phenomenal.
That's absolutely brilliant. I mean, it's saying something about your branding, and we're going to talk about that in a moment. And I've got a young man sitting in the studios, Tony, who's actually a graphic artist specialising in developing brand for companies. And I'm going to ask him to ask you a question in a moment because I regard you as the guru of brand and brand management and marketing for businesses. So he's going to ask you a question, sight unseen. It's a very tough one too, Tony. So I hope you're ready for it. No, not really. Just finding out a little bit more about brand and brand management. But just to come back a little bit more, should people join the chamber? Let me ask you that question. Is it really relevant for people and organisations to join?
I think, Jim, nowadays it's more relevant than ever before. Besides all the things we're doing as a chamber collectively, which is, like I said last night, we had an event at the Fiddler, some 100 businesses there at our Business After 5. And I said to them, there was about 30 new faces there that were considering joining the chamber. And I said, besides it not being a better time than now to join the chamber because of all of the great things we're doing, like the summit we were talking about before and some of the other great events that we've got planned and have done this year, it's also that businesses themselves are facing bigger challenges to remain relevant in a changing marketplace. So, how better than to have a whole team of people around you, connections and relationships that can actually help you stay ahead of the competition, stay ahead of the market, understand the new consumer who's more demanding than ever before, and actually really make your business successful. I don't think you can really survive nowadays without those sort of associations and connections.
And if I can just endorse what you're saying, it's absolute music to my ears, is how you creatively and innovatively put together the My Board concept. I just think that's absolutely superb. Would you tell our listeners just a brief overview of the concept and what it's trying to achieve? I just think it's brilliant.
Yeah, no, thanks, Jim. The My Board teams are set up as smaller teams. So you imagine we've got 300 or so members in the chamber. So you go along to a function like the one last night, and you might meet a few people and sort of connect, and arrange to meet those people afterwards. But the My Board teams meet once a fortnight, and they're made up of 15 or so businesses that are in non-competing industries. And they act, as the name suggests, as your board. So you can actually go along to these meetings once a fortnight and share with them problems you might be having, challenges you might be having, also success stories that you've had that others around the room can also take on board and use in their own businesses. So it's really like, as the name suggests, having your own board, advisory board that can help you in business.
Well, how much does that cost? Because a lot of firms couldn't afford that, Tony.
Well, interesting enough, that's all free as part of your membership.
No. Are you serious?
It's true, Jim. It's true. There's a lot of those sort of similar kind of organisations offering things, and I know they can be quite expensive. But
sorry, Tony, to interrupt. I didn't realise. I'm sorry for my ignorance. It's free. I mean, a lot of those boards are couple of $1,000s a year, and I thought that's what you were charging. But you're saying they can join that free of charge. They can talk to you, and you'd help them get established in a board environment.
Exactly. Well, that's what I'd say. I mean, to join the chamber is around $70 a month. And for that, it's part of the chamber, you're a member, and you also get free access to a My Board team.
Well, I better come and see you because I think that is absolutely brilliant. We need to talk a little bit more about that. In fact, what we'll do, Tony, we might get 5 or 6 people who are on the My Board environment to come and talk about their experiences and why they're involved in it. I'd ask you if we could do that.
I think that'd be great. In fact, we could get a couple of the My Board leaders down because each team's led. There's 10 teams now that we have within the chamber, so we can get any one of those, a few of those, to come along and talk about their experience and how they've actually progressed as a member to actually leading a team.
Oh, fantastic. I can see why the chamber's going in leaps and bounds. Well done to you and the board, Tony. I have Ethan, a young man that I've only met today, who is a graphic artist, and his area of expertise, I can't believe this, and his love is brand management, and I thought he might like to just quickly ask you a question. He's going back to uni, so he's going to introduce himself to you, and his name's Ethan.
G'day, Tony. Ethan here.
Hello there.
How you going?
Good, thanks. How are you?
I'm not too bad. I was just wondering, what do you reckon would be the best way to approach coming to a company or a small business about creating a logo or a brand for them?
So the question was how is the best way to approach?
Yeah.
How to approach them. I think if you're talking about an existing business, are you, or a business that's just about to start up?
Either way, either one.
Okay, so let's get start at the beginning. If it's a business that's about to start up, one of the most important things, I believe, is getting the name right. So many businesses start up and they don't really think about the name, and we have the opportunity to work with a business that's thinking starting up. They've got a great concept, they want to do it.
Yep.
They need to come up with a name. The name, in my opinion, needs to say what you do, because we live in such a competitive and over-communicated world that you need to instantly say what you do. And then from that, it's underlying not just who you are and what you do, but then why you do it better than anywhere else. And that's where that tagline or USP, unique selling proposition, comes in.
Yep.
So if it's a new business, getting that right from the start is an investment that every business person should take, because if you get it right from the start, that's where you grow a brand.
Exactly.
And that's how you become successful.
Yeah,
if you're an existing business, I think it's a case of just asking the question, are you still as relevant today with your brand as you were when you started? Because really, in my opinion, if your brand is any more than probably 3 to 5 years old, it needs a refresh. It needs, people to have a look at it again. It doesn't necessarily mean you've got to change it completely, but it just might be relevant.
Okay, yeah. And yeah, that's just about it, to be honest.
See, I tell you, Tony, we've got hard-hitting presenters now on the show, so you better watch it next time, sight unseen. But
I don't know
really,
who you're going to bring in next.
Me. I'm going to bring James in next, mate. We've got a million of them here. It's just on 25 minutes past 3, and you're on the 90.5 show called People with James, Ethan and Jim. And we hope you are enjoying our time, and we're delighted to have the Chairman of the Sydney Hills Chamber of Commerce, Mr. Tony Eads, online. Tony, if we want to find out more about this summit, and as I said, it's really gathering momentum around the Hills in particular that I know of, where do they go?
So sorry, I didn't catch that last bit.
I'm sorry, Tony. How can people find out more and book for the summit on the 14th of August?
Okay, yep. So the summit, just to 7 o'clock it starts, Wednesday, August the 14th, and it's at the Convention Centre, as I mentioned before. It's in Norwest Business Park. It's very, very easy to log on. All you need to do to register is go to gwssummit.eventbrite.com. So Eventbrite is a very popular platform now for people holding big events, because it's very user-friendly, very easy to go to. So GWS, standing for obviously for Greater Western Sydney, gwssummit.eventbrite.com.
Thank you, Tony. And just to let our listeners know, you and I will be at Q&A on Monday night. And I'm looking forward to going down to the Ultimo Studios down at the ABC and being engaged in Q&A on this Monday night coming. Tony, thanks for joining us, and all the very best, and thank you for the support that you give people and businesses in and around Western Sydney.